Conversation and talks and everything. But glad you got some fruit and cookies and chips and salsa. It's a party when you have chips and salsa. So glad you guys were able to join me today. And I feel free to get refreshments as we talk, as we share. If you need to visit the restroom, the toilet, out the hall, and just near the fire hydrant thing over there. And then Mr. Darren Dunn is in the back. He's doing the live stream for us. So welcome everybody who might be joining us online. We have had several people say that they are coming, and then sent in questions and everything. So just again, let me welcome you. My name is Steve Anderson, as the superintendent here at Grace International School. So let me start us just in a word of prayer, if I may. Heavenly Father, thank you for Grace International School. Thank you for this beloved community, the parents, Lord, that have come today to ask questions, for us to get information shared back and forth. Heavenly Father, thank you for their children. Thank you for the students that are here, the lives that are being impacted by the wonderful staff that we have, both Thai and non-Thai, and instructional and non-instructional. Father, the provisions of this campus and the facilities, Lord, the freedoms we have in this country and government to be able to have the international education that is specific to us with the biblical worldview that we put into the education for our families. And so, Lord, we pray that you would bless our time together. It would be informative and helpful, Lord, and we just thank you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, and then I'll also introduce Kun Wai, our administrative assistant. So she's taking notes and minutes, and then eventually we would make that public for the community to be able to see. So we do this community conversation just twice a year, but it's a way for me as the superintendent to provide information to you, to hear from you, to solicit these questions, hopefully answer things, for you to get to know me a little bit, and then the school, and to be able to, come away feeling heard, and how important you are, your children are, to us in the school. So I'm an MK. My parents were missionaries for 28 years. I grew up on the mission field in the Philippines. I went to Faith Academy, Manila, kindergarten, and a few years in between back in the U.S. and then back for graduation. So certainly appreciate the value of a school like Grace International School as we think about some of the other Christian international schools in the world globally. Welcome, come on in. Please help yourself to some of the beverages or snacks that we have over there as well. And so I really appreciate the opportunity that God has brought me. This is my 7th year as superintendent, 12th year in Chiang Mai. So I was a parent like you prior to coming on staff here, and seeing back in the World Club days, 2 kids that graduated from here, one that's a junior this year. Please welcome, come on in. So 2 kids that graduated from Faith Academy. So fully appreciate and understand MK education and what it means and the value of it. So I'm going to go through a few slides. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to raise your hand and ask, and I'll stop. And I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. Sometimes I get going because I know we only have a little bit of time. So please stop me if you have questions along the way. So who we are, what we do, you have probably seen this around. We have our posters in all the rooms and hallways that talk about our enable, equipping, and cultivating as part of our mission, vision, and values, that we are a school for international Christian workers so that the international Christian workers can remain abroad. So we're enabling them to be able to do that by providing the quality, affordable education that we have here, equipping your students and our staff with both the tools and resources needed to instruct, and your students to be able to learn, and then also to cultivate the partnership, the collaboration, the community in those lives. Please come on in. Bearing fruit together, this is our theme for our staff this year as we talk about how we've gone from kind of planting soil when we moved here to roots going deep to this year, the 3rd theme of finally bearing fruit. And I truly say, coming out of COVID and the move and everything, the feel is very much like we're finally settled in. Those of you that remember have been here when we moved in, the mud, we had to delay a whole month because we just didn't even have sidewalks to get into the school. Then we kind of got operational, had the grand opening in March, questionable if we were going to be able to do that. COVID hit of that 2020, and then 3 years kind of chaos and continuous online education. But within our staff, we felt this was an appropriate theme for us out of John chapter 15, verses 16 and 17. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain. So that's for us as staff. We also have, you've seen the banners maybe in the hallways of elementary, middle school, and high school. These are our global objectives for all learners about the head, the hands, and the heart, and how we try to integrate and implement this educational concept and values for our children, the God seekers, image bearers, passionate learners, critical thinkers, and global citizens. Take a breath, buddy. If y'all were a class and it's the last afternoon class of the day, y'all would be heads on the table, napping, like rah, 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 rah. And so glad you're alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic to be here with me. So organizational well-being. I am excited to celebrate and to share that GIS since 2015 has been participating in what's called the Best Christian Workplace Institute survey. So about 900 schools globally, Australia, the US, Canada, internationally here in Asia, have chosen to participate in this type of survey that gives a rating for us as a school and our staff. So it's not necessarily the community or the students, but our staff. And our staff, we have gone from 2015 to where we were actually in the toxic framework to where we have increased to healthy, and this year all the way into the flourishing. So which is in the highest category of staff approval and vibrancy. We're in the 82nd percentile of those 900 schools that are represented. So it's quite an achievement. I'm very, very proud of our staff who continue to follow the Lord's calling in their lives to come here and to speak into the lives of your children, to educate them with the biblical worldview. So I just want to share that. Really excited in that we've accomplished that. There's still more to do, but it was a huge achievement and boost for our staff to be able to receive and acknowledge. So they also not just check the box on the survey, they give open-ended answers. So we're able to go back and read those. And from that, we'll have focus groups, discovery groups, to go further into what are maybe some of the areas where we're still behind, or there was a bigger gap this year, or we didn't increase like we had hoped to. So just some recent events, of course, the yard sale. We were there early morning, wee hours, had to have the flashlight to get all set up, and it was a pretty big success for a lot of people. Again, it's another one of those things, trying to build community for GIS here in this community. Some of the things we tried to learn from World Club Land was there was periods of time when we were not as welcomed in that World Club Land community in ways. So we're trying to do things as here in Herngau and this municipality. And so a lot of people from the area came in. Next week, International Week. So I hope you've got plans and invitations to come and be a part of, volunteer, as we celebrate International Week. Technically, on the calendar, the Ministry of Education requires 1 day, International Day, but we've chosen to make it a longer week so that we can celebrate more nationalities, more cultural things as we are an international school. Coming up, April 22 through 26 is our WASC and ACSI accreditation. So this is huge. So every 6 years, you do the accreditation. 3 years in, they do a mid-cycle review. So they'll make major and minor recommendations to the school. What happens is we actually fill out a self-study that say we think we highly achieve, we somewhat achieve, and we are lacking in that achievement in these categories. Some things like, do we have policies and procedures for the student safety of the children? Do we have a financial budget that is soluble? Do we have policies and procedures for the academic or other areas? Operationally, is the school safe? So there's 8 different standards that these accreditation agencies have. So we've been working over the past 6 years on the last set of major and minor recommendations. And we feel like we've made significant headway, and we're almost, by March 1st, we'll have finished our current self-study that we will submit to a committee of 8 that will come, or 6. Is it 6Y or 8 people in the committee? 6 people will be coming. They'll have a parent representation, they'll have a student representation, a staff representation, the board representation, and then leadership representation, of meaning they will meet with all those different groups. And they look at our self-study report and say, okay, you said that all these organizational documents are here, here, and here. Great, we found them. They're actually here, here, and here. Wonderful, well job. You said that there's biblical integration all across the grade levels. Well, we found it really strong here, but maybe not so much here. So maybe that might be one of the recommendations that they might make. So it's not necessarily a pass-fail. They merely make recommendations. But we could lose our accreditation, but they wouldn't like we wouldn't be in jeopardy to not be a school or operate. So this is outside entities. So ACSI stands for Association of Christian Schools International, and WASC stands for the Western Association of Colleges and Schools. So these 2 entities. So what happens is when your kids graduate, whether it's Korea, the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, your universities or places look and see, they've got accreditation by these 2 agencies. They recognize one or both of them and go, we feel like the mathematics, the language arts, the history, the different courses that you've offered match a standard that we think your kids would do well in college. So that's what that accreditation does. Any questions? Our staffing needs, this was one of the questions that was submitted. So these are on the website. You're welcome to go and see. For high school, computer science and technology, physical science, operational, the partner engagement coordinator. Then you could see the rest of them for 24, 25. Again, these are all on the website. We do know that 60% of our staff hear about us, inquire, apply through word of mouth. Including in the newsletter, your mission agency, your families, other relatives or people that you're in contact with. 60% of our staff come by that word of mouth. So thank you for doing that and advocating for us, sharing this in your newsletter for the needs that are there. Last year, we needed over 30 teachers, and we received over 30 staff, new staff. That was pretty amazing, and that's a God-sized ask for us. So we are still below the trend of 20% turnover. So in other words, 20% of our 65 staff leave or don't leave. But in other schools, typically 20% or below is a good standard to go by, and we are well below that 20%. So that's good news for us. Questions? Campus development, again, there's a page on our website. It continues to show that there are still projects we want to accomplish and do. We're still officially in phase 1 of our school campus development. So we have obviously built this administration building, the elementary building, the high school building. We then built the cafeteria. 2 more buildings that were planned were the Tiger Fieldhouse Gymnasium and our band and choir facilities located behind the middle school. So those 2 buildings still yet to come. We moved what's called the stables or the facilities building in the back of the property, and we put the old roof on, the same structure and the old roof, so we knew we were going to have to renovate and update that stables building. That's currently where our band and choir students meet. So this year, we're actually going to re-roof and renovate that facility and be able to move art classes out to that fine arts building. We're going to rename it to the Fine Arts and Facilities Building. People are like, Stables? What is Stables? You know, it did look like Stables back over at World Club where it was there. And we call it an old dog trot, the thing that goes right through the middle, and then classrooms on the sides and stuff. So it'll actually have an enclosed part for an assembly area, include the arts, middle school and high school, band and choir for the coming year. Then, so here we go. Another one is enclosing the covered court. We actually have a rubber floor, a very nice Spalding rubber floor down there that the sun, the rain, the weathering have really taken its toll on it. We've tried shading, we've tried other things to maintain and keep it good and vibrant, but it just hasn't worked. So we are actually going to enclose that covered court and potentially put air conditioning in it for air quality control so that we can then use it year-round during the smoky season. The same way we did cafeteria, the classrooms, where your students are, to provide them a safe environment from those elements. That should then take care of the rain and the heat that is affecting the students. Money that we were spending on our loan. So years ago, the school took out a 30 million baht loan. We were been able to pay it off in 7 years. Last November, we made our last payment. So the finance office is still putting that money aside in an envelope as we build these next two projects. So we don't have to take another loan or a capital fundraising campaign to accomplish those other two major medium-sized projects. Any other questions?
So what's the difference between the performing arts building and then the fine arts?
So the fine arts would be like, the art, like with your hands, paintbrush and stuff like that. Performing arts would then be the band and choir, drama that are going to be, in a sense, performing. And so then the other would be the visual, technical, hands-on art that would be out there. Thanks, great question.
Along
Yeah.
that line, is there a view of expanding subjects that are available once that building is available? Things like woodwork, culinary skills, like there's a lot of subjects that...
I heard you're going to teach that for us. Yeah. Exactly. So, well, I would say when we are able to move our band and choir out, I would love to add a home ec class. The back when we had woodworking, welding, some of those technical things that kids just thrived in. Another is I don't know if you've seen our pond in the back or lake or whatever it is. It's now full and it's actually very pretty. I'd love to put a coffee shop back there actually, kind of thing. But we draw that water to water the grass and everything. But I'd love to see aquaponics, other types of agricultural kinds of things. So yes, I would say down the road, I would love to envision that becoming more of that hands-on, artsy, husbandry kind of agricultural location for our students. I'd love to get goats and chickens and all kinds of stuff out there, but I don't know. Diseases and all that come with it. As a school head, you go, I don't know, that's not a good idea. But, so thank you. I would love to see that. So okay, we're going to put your name down as a guy, right?
Not my guy.
Okay. So becoming a school aide. A school like ours functions, my wife Judy, one of her first introductions in the school was coming to lunch and pouring water, right, for the elementary kids. And then it went into that, and then I substituted, and we helped out with sports and athletics or classrooms. Sometimes kids need a little extra attention in the classroom. A teacher needs help with preparation. So becoming a school aide, as you can see here, recess, cafeteria, athletic coaching, library support, any and all of those are areas that you can be a part of and join us in partnership. So I encourage you to do that or recommend the guy. Yeah. Help substitute in the classrooms, always a need. Yes, sorry.
About school aid.
Yeah.
What are the requirements? Are there any?
So there is a background check you have to go through, and then there is signing off, watching the video and or presentation about student safety, because as we bring parents or people into the school setting, we want them to know things about, you would never be behind closed doors one-on-one with the student, the door open, power imbalance, what's appropriate touch, some of those types of things and training that we would want to provide for that school aide.
And background check is Thai or is it like international?
Back in your home country, and it might be the Thai one too. I would need to clarify as well. I think it's both. But if you haven't lived here long enough, sometimes it's hard to get the local. But I think it is both. And it's
So you need Skype kind of probably a month or two in advance planning to
correct,
get along.
correct. For us to give the approval for you and to go through the process of training in that. Yeah. Great. Good questions. And then financial donations. The school right now, our only source of generating revenue is tuition. Other schools, and when I went to the IRCOS conference, which is an educational conference, they're cautioning that if your only source of income is tuition-based, you could be in trouble down the road. The forecast is that schools need to be finding multiple ways of generating income. One simple way is sometimes we'll rent out our athletics conference facilities, the cafeteria for events for people in the community. So some of those other types of things, donations, scholarships, endowments, those types of things can also come in. Great, other questions? Okay, I'm going to move to the online questions that came in. So we had a question about the 8th graders and specifically the middle school and how the transition is coming. So there is a survey coming out here at the end of February or March to get more feedback from the parents and the students on how that 8th grade class specifically that had not maintained in the secondary building or the secondary chapels and so forth. But on our BCWI survey and Healthy Place, the staff environment, the response is still very good. They've implemented some new things for example, snack sales at the breaks, social events. I think there's a Songtao scavenger hunt this weekend coming up. 8th grade have a special hangout location for them. Study halls on Mondays, soccer goals in the big grassy area. These are things that the STUCO, the students, mentioned to the staff. Could we do some of these types of things? So there's the basketball court in the back, the ping pong table, 4 square. So we put up the soccer out in the middle. So if your kids are coming home with grass stains and dirt on them, sorry, but they asked for it. So there you go. 8th grade assembly, celebration, end of the year, yearbook. And then, and then Cindy Morphus, our middle school principal, continues to meet with STUCO to gain more information and feedback. Not everything's been perfect, and it's been a huge adjustment, potentially for some of those 8th graders. But it feels like they are coping, accommodating, and then next year be able to make that transition into 9th grade. So any other question or feedback on the 8th grade and or the middle school? Yes.
Just in terms of communication with middle school, I've found that that's a big problem, and just wondering if it's something that can be addressed from your level back to middle school. Lots of unanswered emails, frequently asking for feedback or support in different things and not getting it. So that's something that.
So let me see if I rephrase. Do I hear you saying you have reached out to middle school and the response has been slow or delayed, or the middle school is not, or non-existent? Okay, so it's not been, or has it been that the middle school is not putting out enough information? Both. So you would feel, okay, cross communication with you and, or not you, but parents and the middle school in general.
Yeah, replies from teachers when there's concerns and
Okay.
follow-up from.
Right. So we do have teacher, staff expectations for responding to emails, protocol for that. So I'm happy to have a conversation with Joe Crane, our deputy superintendent, and middle school principal and or the school principals to just encourage and say, hey, I'm hearing from maybe the parent body that the communication isn't happening either in a timely manner or at all, or that response. So happy to take that back to them. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I think scheduling has been a little chaotic as well. That's like the lack of communication, we've experienced that as well.
Okay.
Asking questions about scheduling or trying to understand scheduling and not getting so much feedback that we needed.
Great. Thank you. And I'll again point out that Administrative Assistant Y is taking notes on this, and she does a marvelous job of then giving me action points and follow-up. So I will follow up with these. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Great. Any other things on that or communication? Okay, I've gotten a question on can our middle school students, middle school and high school students, go further with the Thai studies, the language? Could they eventually pass the university foreign language requirements that are in Thai? Currently, no. Our setup is continued to be to meet the minimal expectations of the Thai government MOE, and unless you're a Thai student, that level of achievement is not expected. We've had parents, and we know that if they've wanted that or desired that level, they've received outside coaching, tutoring, language school on their own. But we meet a criteria from the Ministry of Education for our non-Thai families, and then for the Thai families, they would be able to meet and achieve those foreign language requirements for the Thai government. Does that answer anybody's question here?
So does that mean in high school, if you want to take foreign language,
You can take Thai 1 and Thai 2 as a non-Thai, and your level of proficiency in Thai 2 is certainly going to be better and higher, but it's probably not going to be at the level that would pass the Thai language entrance exam to a college or university or getting your education certificate, something like that.
I mean, like not a Thai university, but like a, like taking Spanish and then you pass out of your University of America Spanish requirement or whatever, but Thai doesn't work like that.
No, it does. So my daughter took Thai 1 and Thai 2. That counted for her foreign languages when she went to university.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's what.
Okay, maybe that was the question. Okay. So yes, but in Thailand, to get into Payap University or one of the other universities, you're probably not going to reach that level of Thai from what we offer. But it does accomplish the 2 years of, 2 years of language requirement, whether it's,
So then is there a test that they take that then, or does it depend on the university?
Yeah, that would depend on the university as to what else they, when I was going through, it didn't matter. I took French and I took Spanish in high school, got my 2 years in. I still had to go take Spanish when I got to college. So I had to do 2 years of that language, there. And so it might just depend on the university.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So the minimum requirement from the government for non-Thai students is 1 year Thai language study, right?
I believe so. And then you could elect to take Thai 2,
Okay.
but to graduate from Grace, I think we do require, or that is expected, the 2 years of language. So you can do Thai 1, Thai 2, you could do Thai 1 in Spanish, you could do Thai 1 in Mandarin.
But 1 year language study is the minimum requirement.
Yes, yes.
But we have to choose Thai language, right? We can't.
No, you I think could teach, you could go 2 years of Spanish. I'll follow up with your question.
Since we are,
Yeah,
we have to do 1 year Thai.
You could do that in middle school already.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be in high school. But if your child comes into high school from outside, then they will need 1 year of Thai.
Correct.
Outside from Thailand. From Thailand,
So I believe
requirement.
I believe you're right in that if my student starts ninth grade, then Thai would be a requirement. If I started in seventh grade, I could take Thai seventh or eighth grade, and then when I get to high school, I could take Spanish or Mandarin, like that. Great questions. And again, why is writing this down for me to follow up and make sure?
So if your student starts in sixth grade and they take Thai,
Mm-hmm.
3 years in the middle school, and then they want to keep with Thai, is it like?
So they can,
4th year?
then there's Thai 2, Thai 3. I mean, there
It's
are.
not going to be the repeat of what they already have?
Some of it will for non-Thais. Some of it will be very basic, similar, same, and low level. So anything above that,
They don't have 4 and 5, so they
no,
don't have 3.
no. For the Thai nationals, they do, but you can't take those levels of Thai as a non-Thai. And so parents have just had to find that outside.
So high school, you have to take a different foreign language.
Do
If
you-
you've already taken it.
Mhm. Correct. There is a Thai 3, I guess, if it's offered.
Yeah, but
And there are kids
My
that
kids-
aren't Thai that are in the national
my
Thai class.
kid's going to have Thai
Yeah.
3 in 7th grade,
Right.
right? So what's he going to do in 8th grade?
So they would need to choose another language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far, Grace only provide Spanish, right?
Spanish and Mandarin,
Spanish, Mandarin.
and Thai. Correct.
Can we get more Thai? I mean, there's plenty of teachers.
Right.
They do offer a class that has North Star Academy, and so my daughter takes American Sign Language through North Star. So there's a class facilitated by a teacher here at Grace for kids who take classes not offered here, that's approved by the school.
Right.
Because she came in last year and was already taking a different foreign language that Grace did not offer, they allowed her to do the second consecutive year through North Star.
Correct.
But it is facilitated here by a teacher.
Correct. I know we've had a student that lived with us one year that took Russian, North Star. So GIS didn't offer Russian, but it was approved during their study hall time. They were engaged in the Russian class.
What if a student just study as an other language, foreign language at home, maybe another homeschooling system, or will the school approve the credit?
If they're a full-time student, there are stipulations as to who's the instructor, what's the course. So like North Star is accredited. If it's one of the other, I guess, accredited curriculum, but homeschool, it would not necessarily meet the criteria for a full-time student. Now, our home and distance education department that offers students to take up to 3 classes on campus, but you still don't get a GIS diploma or degree as a HDE or homeschool student. So you could take math, algebra, Thai here, and then at home take the other classes. But you as the parent would sign off on the achievement and grade level with the agency and or the college or university, but not the school. I hope I'm answering that, making that clear. If not, we can certainly sit down and do a one-to-one to answer your specific questions on that. Glad to do that. Yeah. Okay, I had a question about the 80 percentile of students enrolled here at Grace. So what that means in this, the question was, how are we ensuring that we kind of keep the 80 percentile of our international Christian workers? We used to use the term missionary for that, but as more sensitive families were enrolling and being here, they were petitioning and asking, could we remove the title missionary from some of the school material, literature, and things that might put them in jeopardy for some of the countries that they serve and work in. So we use the term international Christian worker. And the board mandates that our school must have at least 80% international Christian workers, families, your children, in the seats. We can have up to 20% standard families. So those would be families that are not from the missional community, here as a business, expat, NGO of some form, but don't have a church or a sending agency that endorses or sends them or affirms that they're coming to us as an international Christian worker. So the board has this in their board policy. Management, which is us, has to ensure that we fulfill that mandate. So the foreseeable future, the question was, how about long term? Our mission statement that, again, is posted back there on the back wall, that doesn't change very often. That's foundational. The board has it in its core identity statements. The board represents the founders and the founder associates, those mission agencies who helped start and found the school, develop the school, provide teachers, funding, support for the school. The board represents those founders and founder associates, listens to them through linkage, meetings, conversations, emails, and those agencies have affirmed this number, this statistic level is acceptable. So that's the process, the mechanism that we, across each school division, ensure that all 20% of the standard students aren't in elementary. So we don't flood the lower level, school with all the standard students, and it looks a very different culture over there than it would in middle school or high school. So each almost grade level kind of has a cap for standard students being in those rooms. So that's the way the school tries to spread out the 20%. But the foreseeable future we have is that we would maintain an 80% level of international Christian workers, missionary kids in the school. So I don't know if that was from somebody here in the room. Any clarification or question on that?
I had a question about, I heard that they're going to redefine international mission. Is that correct? That there's a change in how that's defined, where those who are working for local organizations no longer fall under that category? Is that correct?
Correct. So the board is wrestling with, when we have this term international Christian worker, and in the actual board policy it said like-minded to the founder and founder associates. So we've been trying to clarify, okay, what does like-minded mean? We needed better interpretation of that. So the board has reaffirmed and realigned that its goal, when we talk about in order that international Christian workers can remain abroad, that the school was founded first and foremost for those international Christian workers. Back then, there was the founding 5, then there was another 8. So you had these founder and founder associates. We're up to 97 mission church sending organizations. So the population from 1999, when the school started, of who's in the school is very different from what it looks like now. So the board is wrestling with this, okay, maybe more of the stakeholders actually don't come from that original set of outside of Thailand international Christian worker. So how do we accommodate for the local Christian ministries, agencies, foundations that want to send their kids here? So that's the question they're wrestling with, is how do we stay true to our mission, vision, and values that was founded for these international Christian workers, but also the demographics have changed. Things are a little different. So our current model only has the standard and partner. And so we're looking at possibly a third tier, something that goes in there that says, okay, international Christian worker fits this definition, it's here, partner actually fits here, and then the standard fits here. So something in that third tier category. Does that help? I think, yeah, it's that. It's a Thai Christian pastor. It's an alumni. It's somebody that we highly value in a foundation that's doing evangelical or evangelistic type of work or ministry, but they don't have a foreign passport coming in, and their sending agency isn't outside of Thailand. It's local. Business as a mission, those types of categories. If we hold strictly to the definition, they don't fit in that 80%. And so that's why some of those agencies got a letter grandfathering them for another year while the board reviews, evaluates until we can look at how we accommodate what the new demographics of the school and population looks like. Great. Does that answer?
Is there a cap about non-Christian families? I mean, you said the 20% is standard families that
That-
are maybe believers, but they're not doing Christian ministry for their full-time job. But what about non-Christians? Is there like a
They would fall in that
percentage
20%,
they're inside of it?
inside the 20%.
There's no like, they could fill the entire 20% if they wanted to, or is there a cap?
It could.
of how much?
It could. It could fill the entire 20% being non-Christian. So when a student comes to us and applies, there are some schools that require one parent and the student, just the student, to be a believer. Our school does not have that policy or that set up. So a non-believer, so we have Buddhist families, we have other religious entity families that are here. And that's why the board put the cap at 80, because they felt like the school culture that they really wanted, and that the moral owners, those mission agencies have said, we want to hold on to that school culture of being Christian. But we also recognize there's a lot of people that could come to our school and we could minister to and bless, but we don't want to fully change who we are. So that's how we hold on to that. But they do not have to be a Christian to attend our school in that 20%. Or even the 80%. We have students here who are missionary kids who don't yet know Christ. So we don't force them to know Christ. Great questions. You guys got other?
School aides, do they have to sign up if they're Christians or no?
Great question on that. I believe the school aides, I don't know. I'll have to find out. I don't believe they would maybe have to be, like if there was a Buddhist mom that wanted to come pour water or work in the library. I don't know. I don't know if we screen to that level or not. Great question. It's got me thinking. Okay. Everybody holding up all right? Need a break? Fruit? Okay. This next question talked about how, let me make sure I'm on the right one. Oh, family home weekend. What's it supposed to be about? No homework, no extracurricular activities, to give families a break from the busy place, school events. But this past February 3 through 5 family home weekend seems to have had a lot of events that were included in that. So back when Grace and some of the other schools, sister schools like DeLotte, Morrison, Faith, who had strong boarding programs, a family home weekend was designed around the boarding home parents and boarding families to bond, to have a day off of school, a weekend retreat, or something that just met those boarding home families. When Grace started, there might have been as many as 6 or 7 dorms back over in World Club land. It dwindled to 5. It's down to 2.5, 3. It's just 2, yeah. So boarding has not been a trend. It's been reducing year to year. So when I consulted with the boarding home parents, many of them were like, I don't really think it matters that we have that extra day. And so we're okay if it goes away. So actually next year, it's not on the calendar. We won't have family home weekend. Yeah, we do have a mid-quarter break. So there is every quarter still a day in there that is a break, but it's no longer going to be designated as a family home weekend. Some loved it, but some were still very frustrated that, wait a minute, you said, and then there's always AP homework, and then the coaches playing basketball practice, and then there's, senior camp out or trip or whatever. And so it became less and less ability to protect in the form that it had intended. So we removed that.
So that's basically a surrender.
A surrender.
That's sad. I thought we should go the other direction.
Oh,
Kids
provide the
kids
family home
need it.
weekend?
Well,
Yeah,
and make
family
sure that
weekend.
teachers don't creatively
That's right.
alter it.
Thank you for that input.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that because, our daughter, you know, we came in last year, we're new, but we're like, wait, what is this supposed to be about? Because you always have homework. And she always, the day after the home weekend, had test or quiz or a big project. And she
Right.
said, well, my teacher told me about it last week, but if you have a test the next day you come back, you can study that week, but you have to study the night before. You have to, you know, give that
Right.
time. And so it felt like teachers were
Right.
creatively going around the home weekend
right,
when we're like, hey, we're all supposed to be together and have this extra time,
right.
and yet you're doing hours of homework.
Yeah, yeah.
8 hours on Monday. My
Yeah.
child did 8 hours of homework.
Oh, one day? Yeah. My son did his
Yeah,
share
it's
too, but
sad.
yeah.
I think it's
Thank,
needed.
thanks for that value input.
Yeah, like our family values it, and we felt the same, like, wait, it's going away, you know, there's a lot of assignments that are immediately follow it.
Right,
And it was, I felt like it was frustrating for the kids, because they were looking forward to that break.
right, right.
So, I don't know, I think it's good for everybody to just take a break and everybody to.
Especially now that we've lost Wednesday mornings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Wednesday mornings was like family time.
Right.
We would have like a family breakfast and it
Right.
was something that we looked forward to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that one certainly got changed on us by the Ministry of Education, but the family home weekend, in conversation with the dorms, felt it doesn't meet what it was originally designed to do, so it was removed in that capacity. I could go back to the principals, and we could still talk about that mid-quarter break day as possibly no homework or kind of thing. But it is hard to, again, hold it to and protect. Sometimes we as parents had to choose. When we were dorm parents, it was the same thing. And even during like the breaks, when my wife and I were dorm parents, and there was always, I don't know, something that it felt like the school had done or was offering or, you know, kind of thing that was voluntary, but you felt there's no voluntary in it. It's pressure. Coach said there's practice. It's optional, really, you know, kind of thing. But sometimes we as parents just had to say, hey, we're gonna go head to the mountain, head to the beach, or have this time together, and they're gonna miss. And have a conversation with the coach, you know, or the parent, or the staff member on it.
I've
Yeah.
been a dorm parent for a week now.
Yeah.
So I can't really comment too much about
Yeah.
this. Our first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Our first home weekend was nice.
Yeah.
For the kids. I was actually sick all weekend. Didn't enjoy it, but we saw it as nice, but it probably served to us as we didn't need it.
Right. Right.
We can find other spots for kids.
Right.
What the challenge is for any dorm parents is you've got 2 kids and they're running all over the place. Just multiply that by 5 and then try and find a spot. We work around that. So I think it's from a dorm parent's perspective, it's no longer necessary.
Yeah.
We make time during the week anyway.
Right. One of the other rationale in it is our school already has so few school days. Actually, the recommendation is 180 school days. Most of the other international schools either start like August 1 and they go into June. They'll sometimes even take 3 to 4 weeks in the March, April smoky season, but then they go into June, but they get their 180 days. We, in the opinion and polls we've gotten, is still value getting out in May and having roughly June and July off. Families go back for raising support. Our teachers, you know, really enjoy that opportunity and time to go back. So to give those 2 weeks during that time. But that was another way to gain at least one more day. Thankfully, we don't typically have to worry about snow days, you know, here in Thailand, like we might in other countries or settings. But we do have pollution days that might come up. And up until kind of this weekend, things have been really great here. And so, yeah, enjoy. Okay, let me. Students, are they encouraged to actually, let me see if I'm getting this right. Oh, Why is there so much pressure, in a sense, for our students to go on to higher education? Are there other emphasis towards technical college or a gap year or Bible college, things like that? I do think our, am I off on something? Thank you. Yeah, high school and college recommended. Great thing. I lost track of that. Yeah. I do think our counselors do try to lay out all the options for our students. I know as a parent, my own children come home with this high standard of excellence, education, driven kind of thing. So when we talk about one of our values is partnering with parents, we would value you as a parent also talking with your children about where they are and this stress and this pressure in that. But it's certainly I would say a culture that is here, that the expectation, the thought to go into higher education, a prestigious university, the university, is out there. But I don't think I hope we go beyond just, well, you're not achieving if you don't make it into that. But here are other options. I know Ms. Sponhauer works diligently with so many students, and some of the students have gotten into some very prestigious universities, but she's also worked with students who know that their university is not going to be the best next step for them. And so is it a technical school? Is it a DTS? Is it a gap year? And what do those types of options and things look like? But I certainly can resonate that my own kids come home with this, and I keep saying, who's it just is there, and you're like, well, okay.
Grade checks is a big part of that. The culture of doing grade checks
Mm.
and the public shaming that comes with that. My kids are telling me that in middle school and in high school, they're being told that they've been grade checked in front of the whole class.
Oh, okay.
On a regular basis,
Okay.
including in middle school, and the kids are terrified because it's literally being addressed in the hallways in front of all of the other kids. Hey, you've got a grade check.
Thank you for that feedback. I will address
So
that.
the shame around that,
Yeah.
but also just the culture of the grade checking in general, the fact that you've got kids that are struggling in a couple of subjects or that are not gifted academically, but are gifted in leading worship or sports
Right.
or other things, and then told they can't do those things because they're not academically good enough, is not creating a culture where they're accepted without having academic prowess.
Right, right. Thank you for that feedback on, the timing and confrontation of that. Our grade check policy, 2 Ds or an F, initiates a conversation and then has consequences to that. And then they have 2 weeks to bring that up. And
Some kids can't do that.
yeah, yeah.
Some kids, their brains cannot understand that, or their brains cannot
Do you feel that the teacher and or principals are not approachable to say, you're expecting this, my child's not going to achieve that. What work improvement plan or what can we do to help them?
Some of those emails that I'm getting at.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
But I can tell you that in the last few months, both in the high school and the middle school, numerous children have been told that they've been grade checked in front of all of their peers.
Okay, thanks. I'm very sorry that has happened. Yeah. Yes.
With this grade check situation, also at the beginning of the school year or the term, whatever, somehow it adds this crazy expectation that you have to have grades in. And I'm like, well, you haven't studied anything yet. You just started.
Right.
Why does there need to be a grade in? Well,
Right.
because of the grade check. It's like, so because of some athletics program, every child has to do, like, in the first 2 weeks of school, be crazy about a grade. I thought that was unreasonable.
Thank you. So I kind of hear feedback saying that the grade check itself is one avenue that puts stress on the students, pressure, this culture, and may be unreasonable in some circumstances or situations.
I think the fact that you've got a student that was told they weren't allowed to lead worship
Mm.
because of their academic grades for a Christian school is devastating.
Wow, yeah, okay. Again, this is why I do these conversations. Thank you for that. I would also say, again, I hope everyone feels, first I can go to the teacher, but I understand if you feel like you're not getting that response, then this is maybe the third level up, but it would be the teacher directly, the principal next, Mr. Crane, the deputy superintendent, and then it gets to me. I tell kids if they end up in my office, it's pretty serious. You know, there's a few other people you should be having conversations with before you sit in here with me, you know, kind of thing. But if that's not happening, then thank you for letting me know. I will address it with them. Yeah. Well, I'll never forget the day I had to call, it was behavior. I had to call my mom and dad and tell them I had just been suspended because of behavior. And to make that phone call in the principal's office was, I don't know why it's a random thought out there and everything, but this is what it made, the stress I'm feeling made me think of that. Oh, no. I think maybe it's the shame or something that was like, that was devastating. And yeah, it was also, well, I won't digress. Okay. It's not about me. Okay, then we have a question about the air purifiers, monitoring in the classroom as we get into kind of the smoky season. We have one over there with the tablecloth on it. It's not on at the moment. When it gets to over 100, the instruction for our staff is please run your air purifiers. Over 150. We also have tested our ACs and the filters that we have, along with the air purifiers, cut in half the AQI. So we've actually done those testings from different locations. We have these purifiers in the library, all the classrooms, the cafeteria, band and choir, those locations to try to do that. Last year didn't seem as bad as maybe the year before, or during COVID, I guess, there was a period. But then there was this one year, we got over to 500, and it happened during the day, and our policy is to close school. Well, we're going to put all your kids on the song towel to go home in the middle of this, so it felt like it was safer just to keep them with us in the classroom and dismiss school at the end of the day. So we do have policies around that. Once the AQI starts going up, early in the morning, myself and a few other administrators monitor. If it gets high, we would then send out the SMS notification online, emergency, by I think it's 6:30. We would try to make that decision, 7, so that before they get on the song towels, you would know not to put your son or daughter out. There would also be an email, so there's some redundancy on how to do that. But our policy is stated. Our teachers have just been reminded of it, and we do have the air purifiers in our room. So did anybody else have any other question on that, or?
So this was my question.
Oh, okay.
So because the green indicator
Mm-hmm.
on the thing actually goes all the way till the AQI is over 150.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, is there a number that the classrooms are striving for on that screen? Because it can be a bit deceptive, the way the color coding works on those screens, that actually, if it's, and the thing is, it's annoying to run them loudly, so I get that.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a temptation to not run it as high as needed.
Right.
To
Right.
clean it. So I'm just curious, is there a number that the classrooms are trying to hit, or that is communicated to?
Well, certainly below 100, we would prefer to see that in the green below 100. And so if the machine is still registering green over 100, we need to check that unit. And so we've instructed our staff that if they see a problem or something in that, but we always encourage our teachers to run them.
Okay. Yeah, it's just tricky with those numbers because you can't say 60, which means it's like orange or red inside the room, but the light's green.
Mm-hmm.
And so you wouldn't know unless you know what the
Right.
number means.
Right.
So.
The nurse also monitors. We've had questions about our school AQI monitor. It's located here in the elementary building. We have had it tested. We had 2 monitors side by side. Another company brought in to test to make sure. and they were both working properly. One of the explanations that we've given is where we are, we get a little bit more of a breeze out here compared to maybe in World Club land or in the city a little bit. Chiang Mai, of course, sits in a bowl around all these mountains, so things do settle. And you'll notice on your AQI things, some different locations are already at 200 or 150, and it's like 96 out here or something, and you're like, how's this? I thought it was all Chiang Mai. But it's very sensitive to the location that it is. But we do have it tested, we have it cleaned. Yeah.
In regards to that, I don't think the majority of people understand how these monitors work. The number on the screen is not the AQI, it's the PM 2.5.
Okay.
It should actually be below 15.
Mhm.
That's the World Health Organization recommendation, is that you shouldn't be in a room for more than 3 hours where it's over 15 of the PM 2.5. So teachers are looking at that and going, oh, it says 100. That's actually an AQI of 190. So if they're looking at that monitor and going, oh, it's 100, it's fine, that's actually higher than the dangerous level, which you're not allowed to go outside and do PE in, and
Mhm.
it's not matching the numbers that are coming up on the monitor for the school. So people need to get educated about what those actual monitors are saying and doing, because a teacher seeing that it's 100 and not caring, those kids are sitting in the classroom and it's 190
Mhm.
AQI.
Mhm. Thank you. I'm going to educate myself on that because,
It's a different reading.
okay.
It's deceptive the way the numbers read on those.
Okay.
The WHO recommendation is that number shouldn't be over 15.
Yeah, I don't think we even have that one plugged in today or turned on. But
Do you
Um,
have any experience of the levels that were in the classrooms?
Yeah, I asked my kids to check them last year, and they were saying they were between 1 and 200 in the classrooms.
In the classroom?
And I checked the ones in the cafeteria during chapel, and they were saying 250. So that's really
last
high.
year?
So
Last
there
year.
was more than outside?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the doors are being opened and closed all the time, and then it wasn't getting back down.
Oh, I see.
No, that was on a day that it was like 400 outside.
Oh, outside would be
Yeah.
because
So that would be like the half thing that I was mentioning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're high.
Yeah.
But I think there's not the education, and teachers aren't aware of how these monitors work.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to first educate myself on it. Okay, other comments on that? How are teachers hired, the hiring process? So as I first mentioned, the word of mouth is the number one way we receive applications. We use social media. We use our school website. We use what's called Handshake, which is a lot of college, university students look at for jobs. We try to post through the mission agencies. Those that are founder associates, and those that are partners have a responsibility and a partnership to post on their mission website, to pray and to advertise about the school. We attend job fairs. We have 2 that are coming up. We have representation to go to find teachers. So a teacher then fills out the inquiry form on the website. I'm interested. They get a form letter back, gives them the next step. They continue to then provide their resume, their references, the background check, and then we would then go through an interview process. Then they would be given, depending on how the interview went, as to if the committee, the group, it could be 3 to 5 staff members that would interview. Yes, we would like to hire this teacher, or no, we would not like to, or we would like more information. So then if they are hired or offered a contract, then they have a chance to agree to the contract or disagree. Now, they've already seen our statement of faith and that they need to raise support and join a mission agency before we ever send them an offer to hire. So when they agree to that, then we send all the visa packet information. And then from there, once they fill all that out, because it's quite an investment for our office to now request from the Ministry of Education a work permit and a visa for a staff member. So we do a lot of vetting before we actually give them the information and get them hired. Then we have an onboarding process that we do here that includes the background check, verification, memorandum of understanding with the mission organization and or church that they're coming from. Their mission agency affirming that they are at whatever level of percent that the mission agency and or church, some say 80%, some say 90, some say 100% of support before they can come. And so we walk through that quite extensive process, and it does take a period of time. It can take up to 2 months to actually get everything in place. Did that answer somebody's question for the hiring process? Okay. Chinese and Mandarin. Let me see what that is. How are these hired? Was this a write-in question that just happened today or soon?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Okay, thank you, because Chinese Mandarin as a GIS world language course, track, outline, importance to GIS. So I do know that the Chinese Mandarin was added as one of our foreign languages a number of years ago, and we continue to search for, find, hire trained Mandarin teachers to do that. And like we mentioned earlier, sometimes some of the languages you actually can enroll online or North Star. You could also look at dual enrollment, dual credit at a college or university, if that's a desire, where you're actually going to get both credit here and at college or university that they might be going to. But it is a foreign language that we do offer and do place a priority on to have. So I don't know if that.
I can put that question.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I mean, my question really has this background. I mean, the previous Chinese teacher, she stopped, or she finished last summer, and yeah, I was just wondering, because after that there was no more Chinese teacher. I'm just wondering how much of a priority Chinese Mandarin as a language has at GIS. I'm just thinking GIS is in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese Mandarin obviously is the most prominent language in Asia.
Right, right.
Probably projected even more important in the future.
Right.
So I was just wondering, like, how much of a drive or an emphasis there is on actually offering that, not just as like a 1-year starter course, but actually seeing students through through a language like that.
Yeah, it is still a priority for us, as would be any and all the teachers. Some of the complications or things that do make it hard for us is as the MOE requires somebody to be credentialed in that teaching certificate or avenue. So finding someone that not just has time to teach Mandarin for us, but would have the credentials that would be needed for that, sometimes might be obstacles for us, but it's certainly a priority for us to try to offer and to continue to advance in that. Yeah, I hope. Okay. Yeah, it's that with all the others.
Too late for my daughter.
Yeah, I know. I love it. We were Mr. Herschelman from athletics or from sports leadership was telling me that they take students to the Thai schools to help, with the recreation, English language, and connection here in the community. And he was watching this one of our GIS students talking with another student at a school, and he was like, well, that's not Thai. And the student didn't speak English, it was just Mandarin. They were talking back and forth, and so some of our students are quite fluent in Mandarin, having come from China, and so it was really neat to see that it wasn't Thai, it wasn't English, but they were communicating in that foreign language, that Mandarin. So, well, we're about out of time. Your kids will be getting out of school in just a moment. Is there one other?
There's a second part of the question
Oh.
on how teachers are hired.
And if no accredited and one is available, what choices are before North Star can offer? Can an interested parent with experience volunteer? or someone who has plans to get certified. So we do, the Ministry of Education does allow us 2 years to work, for someone to work towards getting a certification. So yes, someone that at least has a BS degree, Bachelor of Science degree, can apply, get accepted, teach here. But within those 2 years, we have to demonstrate that you're working towards the teacher licensing and certification. So did that answer that second part, why? And then we talked about North Star. I'm not sure I'm following you.
Can an interested parent with experience volunteer?
Yeah, I think they can, but not volunteer on a regular basis. As we try to follow the strictest law for Thailand, if you show up regularly all the time, it's considered work. If you do that, you need a work permit. Immigration requires a B-type visa to do that. So we certainly invite parents to volunteer, and there's a reasonable allowance of level of volunteering, pouring water, library, some kinds of things. But if you are more of a long-term teacher, substitute in a classroom, we would need to pursue the work permit, for you. But a teacher could come in. Sometimes we've had people come in and teach a unit, like personal finance, get a gifting in that. So for a week or 2 weeks, I could teach personal finance, and that would be acceptable. But we can't do long-term, because then it appears as though you're working here, and we would need a work permit for that. You think that answered it? Was that somebody that was here? Well, I've rattled out a lot of stuff. You guys have had great questions. There's some homework for me to follow up with and get back to you on. But I so appreciate you guys coming out and feeling that you can come voice concerns and or respond to some things. And I hope, again, that you have felt heard and that you are truly valued. Thank you so much for partnering with us at school. This type of school needs you, needs the parent, needs the community. And we have a great staff who love your kids and are doing their best to pour into their lives in a spiritual, academic, and socially, relationally way. So thank you all. It's 3:15 according to that clock. I hear kids running in the hallways. You can go collect your kids or get some chips and salsa first. But I'm going to sign off from our video audience and for you guys. Thank you for coming. All right, have a wonderful day. Thank you, Y. Thank you, Darren.